Hey guys, and welcome to Ahead of the Curve, brought to you by Bybit. My name is Francesca, and you can call me Fran. And here, we're going to be talking about some of your favorite topics, right? Or buzzwords, if I were to be honest. Within the space, we're talking about blockchain, digital assets, and their roles really in the advancement of the global economy as we know it. Joining us today, we have Chia Hock Lai, co-chairman of the Blockchain Association of Singapore, and also co-founder of the Global Fintech Institute. Hock Lai, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us today. Do you want to say hi to everyone and do a little bit of intro?
Hi, everyone. What Francesca has introduced, I'm the co-chairman for the Blockchain Association Singapore, and the association I founded in late 2018. Previously, I was the founding and former president for the Singapore Fintech Association. Has been quite active in both the fintech and the blockchain ecosystem for the last 5 years. Happy to be here and honored to be invited by Bybit to share my views on things related to blockchain and crypto.
I think right now it's a really exciting time, right, to be in the space. The blockchain technology and also crypto adoption really in general is growing massively, right, around the world. Just a couple of days ago, I saw a report from, US banking giant Wells Fargo's research division. It was titled, I think, cryptocurrencies like too early or too late, that kind of theme, where they talk about really cryptocurrencies as a viable investment, right? And they say that, they don't believe that the whole idea of now, being too late to invest in crypto, the whole timeline of things and it being like, I think they used the word relatively young, where they used to describe the space, relative, of course, to other asset classes at least. So that's on investment, but on a more kind of casually relatable front, right? We're seeing more tie-ups between non-crypto or, we can say legacy companies, right? Teaming up with crypto firms, on home ground, my home ground on Bybit, at Bybit here, we have Oracle Red Bull Racing's partnership, right, with Bybit announced just last week, all the way to like kind of Staples Center, very renowned landmark stateside, being renamed the crypto.com arena. I think you and I, Hock Lai, we've been talking about basically how many people are seeing this as crypto inching into mainstream, right? Kind of crypto adoption. So Hock Lai, my question to you, what are your thoughts on this? Is crypto gaining global acceptance?
I think the year 2021 was considered quite game-changing because a lot of blockchain use cases like non-fungible tokens, DeFi, really grew exponentially. And on the other hand, we are seeing growing institutional interest. I think one of the recent reports shows that the top 50 banks by asset under management has directly or indirectly invested in blockchain companies. And then, of course, we have El Salvador making Bitcoin their legal tender, and then Coinbase, one of the proxy for the Web3 world, they got listed. However, if you look at the number of crypto addresses, I think for Bitcoin is about 80 million, and for Ethereum is about 190 million. So if you add these two addresses together, right, it's probably less than 5% of the world's population. So I think we are still far from global adoption. If we relate that to the growth trajectory of e-commerce, right? 20 years ago, I think only like 3% of all sales are digital. But today we are seeing like close to 40%. So I think that is the benchmark we should be looking at. But then that also reflects that the growth opportunity for crypto is still a lot substantive, right? Let's say today we have 5%. At some point in time, 5-10 years down the road, we could reach 10%, 20%, or even up to 40%. Thanks.
Hock Lai, you mentioned several very interesting topics here. You talk about NFTs, you talk about kind of El Salvador, and I think all these kinds of themes I would love to discuss with you further as we go along, right, in this program. But for now, let's tighten the playing field a little bit, right, and talk about blockchain specifically in Southeast Asia. Where you're at. Just about, I think. Well, let's start with, I think, Thailand. I think just about 1 or 2 days ago, I saw an interview on Bloomberg that the stock exchange of Thailand, they're talking about their plans to launch a digital asset exchange. I think as soon as before the end of this year. They were saying that they're bullish, right, on the utility and the investment tokens kind of assets in 2022. Right, so this actually follows very closely on the heels of what we're seeing in Singapore. The country's banking giant DBS also announcing plans to launch their own retail digital assets trading desk by the end of this year, right? So I guess my question to you, Hock Lai, is how, in your point of view, do these decisions affect the crypto space? If not globally, then at least in Southeast Asia and I guess Singapore, right, in particular?
Yeah, if you look at the digital asset exchange from Thailand, right, I think that one is operated by the Thai Stock Exchange, and is specifically referring to security tokens. Because for the last few years, Thailand has been issuing out crypto exchange licenses. So they have been supportive of this market. And so do many other countries in Southeast Asia. And if I recall correctly, countries like Vietnam, Indonesia are some of the world's highest adoption of cryptocurrency. So if you zoom out and then look at Southeast Asia, right, it has a population size of 650 million. Half of them are below 30 years old. So these are pretty young and digitally savvy population with very high mobile phone penetration. But on the other hand, I think about 70% are either unbanked or underbanked. So which means that they are really underserved by financial services. And we know that younger folks prefer digital assets, and we can expect for the next 20 years there's going to be a large intergeneration wealth transfer from the first gen, second gen conglomerates to their younger heirs. So I think overall, this provides a very fertile ground for medium to long-term development of blockchain in Southeast Asia. As for Singapore, I think the position it plays, right, are twofold. First is that being one of the leading financial center, I think by positioning itself as the institutional crypto hub makes a lot of sense. In terms of retail market, with just a population size of 5.6 million, right, it's just a fraction of Southeast Asia. I don't think that it is a very attractive market to many people. But I see many blockchain and crypto companies setting up offices using Singapore as a business hub. Over the last 24 months, I see a pickup in this. So I think everyone knows the large retail market will be in Southeast Asia, one of the fastest growing, and many are using Singapore purely as a business hub, as a base for them to launch their crypto and blockchain businesses in the region. Thanks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I think it's quite an apt kind of time to take a look at the markets today. The crypto markets, I think overnight, spilling into today, really we're seeing a sea of red, right? So looking at where we stand right now, the bellwethers, of course, we can't talk about crypto without mentioning BTC, right? The king of crypto, Bitcoin. At this point, 34,000 US dollars, 8% southbound and changed on 24 hours change. Ether, we're looking at 2,300 US dollars, 12% lower than what we saw yesterday, same time. And also various other currencies like XRP, 0.6 US dollar per change, negative 11%. All these really slam the sentiment's pretty negative right now, slammed on the back really of deepening, I think, Russia and the Ukraine crisis. Crypto prices, of course, have been trending south since reaching record highs, if if I'm not mistaken, I think like early November of last year, right? So recent volatility though does come in amidst like a broader market sell-off, driven by investors worldwide, right? Recalibrating their portfolios to account for a more aggressive central bank stance. Specifically, when we're talking about statesides, with the U.S. Federal Reserve putting in a very hawkish tone recently, expecting to raise interest rates as many as 7 times this year, in a bid really to fight inflation. So, Hock Lai, let me bring the conversation back to us here, and really tapping on your expertise and understanding of the global economic situation. What outcomes really would the rise in interest rates, right, have on markets? And I guess, we're in this space, so let's talk specifically also on the crypto markets. And really, I guess the real questions on many traders' minds is, should they be concerned, right?
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, the all-time high for like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other cryptocurrencies were reached in early November last year, and it started to fall after the Federal Reserve announced that they will start tightening monetary supply, going to raise interest rates, and then that trigger off some selling off. So definitely from the wider perspective, right? We see a lot more positive correlation over the last 2 years between tech stocks and cryptocurrency. The main reason is that like when interest rate rise, right, it will hurt the tech stocks more, because many of the tech companies, if you recall the early days of Facebook and Google, right, they make, or even Amazon, they could be making losses for 5 years, 10 years, because they rely on loans to expand. So increase in interest rate definitely will then increase their cost of business. So that's one angle. But the other angle is also for the last 2 years, right, that we are seeing more institutional players coming into space. So again, so now we start to see that it is more correlated to how the traditional equity market is reacting, like what they are reacting to the latest development between Russia and Ukraine. A few hours ago, Russia just the Russia military forces just entered Ukraine territory. So we see that the positive correlation. But so all this combined, right, it will actually like reduce the global liquidity flowing into the crypto market, and hence I think that will negatively impact on crypto prices for quite an extended period. I think at least until Q3 this year. And I think the other reason is also that the current crypto bull run is already close to 2 years old. So typically it will take a rest. So I think that's how the interplay of interest rate, geopolitical tensions, and institutional players, how they are now affecting the price of crypto. Thanks.
So it sounds like the momentum, in the markets are, whether slowing down or kind of taking a breather, right, if I may say so. But I think we're also looking at key developments on the CBDC front, right? Central bank digital currency. Last year, especially, I think I think we saw like 80 plus, close to 90 countries exploring CBDC at this point, and something like 9 countries, including I think China, South Korea, and I think the latest entrant might be Nigeria, being on the front lines of adoption and implementation. What is really the significance of this development? Is there any spillover into market sentiment, investor sentiment, and what should we really pay attention to in 2022 when it comes to defining moments in this area?
Yeah, so according to the Bank of International Settlement, right, more than 80% of central banks are exploring or piloting or even launched their stablecoins. The reason of introducing CBDC, right, is really from an efficiency and financial inclusion perspective to support the growth of the digital economy, which was accelerated due to COVID-19. So even if you are looking at a country like China, which is already very very developed in terms of fintech, right? I saw a report that close to 200 million Chinese citizens don't have access to bank accounts. So definitely this financial inclusion play is a critical part to many of the countries that are implementing retail CBDC, including e-Naira from Nigeria that you pointed out. And the other benefit, of course, is the lower cost in terms of like printing, in terms of cross-border fund transfer. CBDC will result in all these benefits. In fact, to me, I think if CBDC becomes more pervasive, right, it is going to be a game changer to connect real-world assets to the crypto economy. Because I think that will accelerate adoption. That will accelerate more asset tokenization, having more tokens that are backed by real-world assets. And because now you have very legitimate, widely adopted CBDC, more people will then be willing to come into this crypto asset economy and start adopting all this CBDC. But I also have a different take, as in like frequently people will ask me, right, then are CBDCs competing with the private stablecoins? My take is that I think the market is big enough for both to coexist. They have different strengths and weaknesses. For example, let's say if you are looking at like for US to even launch a digital dollar, that will take at least easily another 3 to 5 years. But now you already have many private stable coins that are backed by USD. Yeah, so I think the world will have enough room for both CBDCs and stable coins to coexist together. Thanks.
I like that coexisting. I was actually curious to find out from you, right? Whether or not one would replace the other, kind of the roles that they play in terms of, the whole grand scheme of things. Coexistence is something that I'm personally very excited about. So thanks for shedding light into that. How about the regulatory environment of things, or kind of like the development, the landscape of regulatory acceptance, and I guess more importantly, kind of like the implementation of things, how things have evolved, right? I think from my perspective, at least from what I'm reading, from conversations, I think it might have evolved quite significantly again as of last year, right? I think 2021 was quite a defining moment for the space, whether, in terms of momentum, like again, market momentum, but also on acceptance. You mentioned institutional acceptance, and also, on the regulatory front, I think we've got El Salvador legalizing Bitcoin. And also, I think what was quite interesting towards the end of last year, we had the US Bitcoin futures ETF being passed, and crypto firm Coinbase going public, right, with its NASDAQ IPO. But in parallel, we're also seeing countries adopt a stricter stance, right, towards cryptocurrencies. So, Hock Lai, from your point of view, as a leader in the blockchain and fintech space, talk us through your views, your opinions really on the future of the regulatory environment as you see fit.
Okay, first thing I think the world of regulation on crypto is likely to continue to be quite fragmented over the short to medium term. But one thing is clear is that nowadays regulators understand the technology behind blockchain and understand the industry a lot better. And with this better understanding, we could expect more regulations and, in fact, tightening of regulations. So, for example, the most recent would be like, for example, like Singapore, MES recently they gave a guidance to ban crypto advertisement totally. The following night, right, Spain also came up with the it's not a ban for Spain. They actually subject crypto advertisement to regulatory review. So you need the regulator to approve before you can advertise. And then a few days later, UK also follows suit that they're going to regulate crypto advertisement, and they will classify crypto as financial products and subject to financial regulations. And then again, like we see that in India, they have that push-pull, like on one hand, for the longest time, I think the Reserve Bank of India has been trying to outlaw crypto, but on the other hand, there are many supporters for having crypto, and now they seems to trying to reach a compromise, especially from the angle of extracting taxation revenue from crypto. Russia said many times that they intend to ban and restrict, and I think last week I saw that the Ukraine actually endorsed Bitcoin. Yeah, same thing. Thailand has banned the use of crypto for payments, but they are supportive of crypto as an investment. So I think we are not going to like we will still continue to see this very fragmented nature, but it is my belief that the regulation will continue to tighten as regulators understand the sector more. They will know which are the areas that they need to safeguard, for example, consumer protection, for example, like preventing money laundering or terrorist financing. So those are the areas that they are more interested in. But of course, there's also the angle of like taxation, right? We are now moving towards a post-pandemic world. So in the route of economic recovery, I think we need as much tax revenue as possible. So I think overall, the trend will still be like tightening, but that will also introduce regulatory clarity. And that will then usher in the more mainstream adoption of crypto. So I think while it's tightening, I think it's good for the industry over the medium to longer term. Thanks.
That's very, very interesting, Hock Lai. And I want you to hold that thought because I want to do a shout out really to our audience viewing in today. If you've just joined us, welcome to Ahead of the Curve, brought to you by Bybit. We have today Chia Hock Lai, who is the co-chairman of the Blockchain Association of Singapore. He is also the co-founder and the leader really in the Global Fintech Institute, very knowledgeable in the space, talking about blockchain, talking about fintech, and really digital assets, right? And the kind of like their roles in the advancement of the global economy. We're talking about collaboration, implementation, and just so many different use cases, right, of the blockchain technology and digital assets. I do see some questions streaming in from the audience right now. Do keep writing in. If you have any questions for Hock Lai, tap on his expertise, his experience in the space. And I'll be happy to kind of read it out in about 10 to 15 minutes from now, because I personally have burning questions myself. So back to Hock Lai and what you just mentioned earlier, if I may just kind of throw in a little curveball for you, Hock Lai, how do you see kind of the use case, right, for crypto currencies? We've talked about, and you've mentioned really, kind of a coexistence potentially when it comes to CBDC. How about cryptocurrencies? Some people view it as an investment, kind of asset, right? Some people say that, you can use it as a form of currency. I saw an interesting video produced by some of the talents within the company the other day, and it really shows the life of three guys, right, going around the city, New York City to be exact, kind of just trying to use Bitcoin as a currency, trying to buy pizza, trying to buy coffee with Bitcoin. People talk about it, but I think the reality, at least at this point, of using Bitcoin as a currency is still a little bit tricky, right? So I mean, that's just kind of my observation and what I thought is interesting. So Hock Lai, I don't know whether you have an opinion on how crypto is being viewed right now, and whether or not there's a potential or a case, right, for crypto to be used as a currency in whether the near, medium, or long-term future.
So, okay, I think we have to look at the crypto because many cryptocurrencies have different functionalities, right? While Bitcoin originated to be a peer-to-peer electronic money arising from the global financial crisis, but due to the volatility in prices, so we hardly see any merchants or people using Bitcoin for transaction. Many of them rather hold it for its price growth potential, right? So I think more or less the world has settled down. Okay, Bitcoin can play this digital gold role, although whether they are really a digital gold is subject to a lot of controversies also. Yeah, but more or less, right, people are, I mean, institutions or even the high net worth folks, they are viewing Bitcoin as a form of store of value. But when we look at other currencies, they have other kinds of utility value, right? For example, Ethereum, right, with the smart contract capability, you can then build a lot of things, including like, NFTs. And one of the things out of this Ethereum is really you can use it to create stablecoins, right? And then when we talk about stablecoins, right, that is where I think is very exciting. And if you look at it together with CBDCs, these are currencies with very stable value, and it makes sense for you to use it for transaction as a payment. Yeah, so that's why I say that further development of CBDC is actually very good for the whole crypto economy as a whole, because you will bring more people into the fold of the crypto economy. Yeah, so that's my view, that for a cryptocurrency to be used as a unit of exchange, right, it needs to have stability in value, and that's where stable coins come into play. Yeah, thanks.
Nice. That definitely does shed some light into the use case of crypto, and I guess how people can adopt it and kind of have it as part of their daily lives, right? You mentioned NFTs, and that's really an area that I'm personally very interested in, right? The wonderful and colorful world of NFTs. For the uninitiated, NFTs basically stand for non-fungible tokens, essentially digital assets, right? Anything from JPEGs to videos and audio that can be bought and sold. And a lot of people, well, some see it as a fad, right? Others see it as an investment opportunity, ownership. I think that's a big area that people talk about. Long known in the blockchain world, really, but recently really taking hostage the imagination, if I may say so, of the broader public, right? We've got celebrities and brand names really entering the space from, I remember my good old classic, The Parent Trap, right? Star Lindsay Lohan and Shark Tank investment guru Mark Cuban. We're also looking at brands like NBA, Formula One, luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci. They've all really gotten into this whole NFT craze or NFT space, right? Let's talk about NFTs and potentially like the longevity of NFTs. Is it here to stay, and why?
Okay, if you look at NFT, right, I think it came into prominence in 2017. I'm not sure whether you still recall the CryptoKitties craze that almost like jammed up the entire Ethereum network. Yeah, but that time it was just a flash in the pan. What's so different this round? I think mainly because like we have an extended crypto bull run. We have people like MetaCovent who bought every day 500-day NFT for 69 million. That really then spark off a worldwide craze over NFTs. And if you look at NFTs, right, I think this is something that the mass, I mean, more people can relate to it rather than cryptocurrency, which is more abstract, right? Because an NFT, for example, most likely will be a digital collectible or an art. It is something that is visual. People can relate to it. So that led to its prominence. And then, of course, that we see that the NFT, once you extend it, right, it becomes an important element in, for example, in gaming. So that now closed-loop games, right, with all the items like your sword, your shield, or as an NFT, you can then take it out and sell, or even move it across different blockchain gaming environment. And then by the same token, right, the NFT could be your Nike sneakers in the metaverse. And then, of course, then we have then relate to the how Facebook has rebranded into Meta, and how Microsoft is going to spend $69 billion to acquire Activision, which is one of the major gaming companies. So you can see that I think NFT now has expanded to many other utility value, and I think it's here to stay. Definitely there is some high speculative element in the market now, but I think over time, the speculative side of things will slow down, and the utility side of things will grow more. In fact, I still think that even for NFT, it could be in a future lending that on one spectrum, right? You have countries like, for example, China. They term NFTs as, I think, digital or virtual collectibles that you can buy but you cannot resell. So they are trying to eradicate the speculative element. On the other extreme right, you have the wild west of NFTs, whereby it is super unregulated. I think I saw a report that up to 90% of all sales in OpenSea or one of the top NFT platform are wash trading, right? And you will have those that will be in between. There will be some of them will start doing KYC to make it more legitimate. So I think this is three different landing points of the future of NFT, and I think they are all equally possible. And in fact, I think they will coexist, very much like how many countries are treating crypto regulations differently. Thanks.
That's very interesting. I have a few kind of follow-up questions because you mentioned the gaming side of things and also mentioned the wash trade side of things. So I do want to address kind of like what advice you would give in terms of how to safeguard. But let's park that thought, because I recently got myself an Oculus, right? And that personally for me was fascinating, entering the world, the metaverse, and experiencing it firsthand, whether when it comes to gaming or really just socializing in the metaverse. I think that was personally an eye-opener for me. Within the metaverse, there's obviously an avatar, right? So I don't look like this in the metaverse. And I think you mentioned, the use case of NFTs, being able to take on a new persona within the metaverse with the use of NFTs, whether in terms of avatar or even the clothes that your avatar would wear. Again, I'm not sure if our viewers here watch the movie Ready Player One. I think that was it 10 years ago? It was. The whole idea and the whole technology and the whole metaverse space has been around for the longest time, right? But it kind of came into popularity in recent years. People like me, I only just recently got into the space, but you're reading articles talking about people buying real estate, right? So the real estate can be in the form of NFT use case in the metaverse, and also kind of like your luxury brand handbags, right? In fact, I think some were saying that the price point, for example, for a certain brand of handbag, within the metaverse is slightly more expensive than the actual bag itself in, if I may say, like real life, right? Where we are right now, right? So I don't know. This is just kind of my experience and my point of view of things. But Hock Lai, for you, apart from kind of gaming, I used to be a gamer. I used to buy, I don't know, various, fun stuff within the gaming space. But potential uses of NFTs. Do you think there is, kind of an extended use case or a longevity also, right, when it comes to the potential use case of NFTs?
Yeah. So like since you talk about metaverse, right? To me, I mean, a very simple way of explaining metaverse will be like you have AR plus VR plus blockchain, right? The blockchain part, I mean, the Oculus has been around for the last few years. They are not new. What really like inspires people's imagination is really when people start thinking that when you add in the blockchain element, right, then all the items in the metaverse can be an NFT. They can be traded. They can like be proof that you own that asset totally, right? So that's why now there's a lot of investment into this whole metaverse. But then back to the point on NFT beyond gaming, beyond collectibles and art, I think there are a few number of potential users. One is NFT as a form of digital identity. Because like as we move more commerce into online, into metaverse, right? We definitely need the identity. Your passport can be an NFT, for example. Even your education certificate could be a number, although that is already being done a lot of people are already issuing educational certificates in blockchain. The other thing is that I recently came across a project that actually they actually tokenized villas in a resort in Indonesia into NFTs. So in that resort, they have 300 villas. So they actually sell each of the villa that they are building into an NFT. That in a way makes it easier for people to transact, to trade on these villa resorts, right? The other use cases I see people are using it to tokenize wine into NFT, or even there's this shoe that they actually sell a NFT shoe that at some point in time they will actually build the actual shoe that you can redeem. Okay, and NFT can also be used in healthcare, for example, like all the different when we go to see a doctor, all the different medical reports, right? They can be then represented as a form of NFT, and then combined with self-sovereign identity. Just now I talked about NFT identity, right? Then we can decide. We can easily aggregate all the different medical data of ourselves, and then decide which are the one we want to release to the doctors. So that's another use case. I think, again, supply chain is definitely one of the very strong use case. I mean, very obvious, right? You talk about the luxury handbags, right? They can be traded, they can be minted as an NFT and track and trace from factory to the retail shop. Last but not least, I think it can also be applied into the insurance industry. For example, like your whole life endowment policies, they accumulate cash value over time. And at some point in time, right, some people might want to cash it out due to one reason or another. Instead of surrendering that life insurance policy to your insurance company, you could sell the NFT version to other people. And because it's NFT, right, it makes it easy to buy and sell. So you for the one selling the insurance NFT, right, they fetch a higher price. For the buyer, right, it makes it easier for them to then resell to somebody else at some point in time in future. So I think we are just merely scratching the surface of the different functionality of NFTs. Yeah, we are still in very early stage. That's why I believe in the longevity of NFTs. Thanks.
Scratching the surface is so true. I think that the possibilities are endless, and I'm kind of like smiling, grinning right now because I recall a conversation that I had, right, about someone wanting to propose with an NFT ring. Some people find that romantic because it lives forever, right, on the blockchain. There's also kind of better value if you're talking about reselling than a physical ring. But I mean, it really just kind of brings to life, right, kind of how creative people can be with the use case of an NFT. But I want to circle back, Hock Lai, into kind of the safeguards and of how people use, or I guess, live with this new innovation, right? Earlier you mentioned various whether hacks or compromises within the system, security system. What advice would you give investors or the public, and kind of what should they note to better safeguard themselves?
Yeah, because like now, if you see, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry are coming into NFT. So like the last month, we have this Indonesian guy who did his own selfie, and he managed to sell $1 million worth of his own selfie NFTs, right? And then in Singapore, we have this Rin Zhao. She also managed to raise a few million. All right. So and then of course, we also have similar news that people are being scammed They paid for the NFT, but they didn't get it, or there's a rug pull whereby they put in the money, but the developer ran off, right? So I think one thing very important is that when we are investing in NFT, right, don't invest just money, invest in time. Invest in time to pick up the knowledge. That's why like a few governments, they are not supportive of retail investors to come into crypto, because unless you are crypto savvy, right, this is really not a suitable investment class for you. Yeah, and if you really want to really spend time, okay, do your research, check in multiple sources, right? Whether is it the social media, the websites, the Reddits, right? And also have very strong cyber risk hygiene, like how can you protect your crypto wallet? Yeah, because we see that if you don't do it well, your valuable NFT could be easily stolen. And also be very, very wary when there are dubious websites or even phishing links. And so all these are different red flags. But one thing that I always highlight is that if the offer is too good, right, probably it's too good to be true. These are red flags already. Don't be too greedy. Really do your homework check. Yeah. Thanks.
You bring up very, very good points there, within the context of Bybit, and even my personal experience, right? When I first entered the space, it was it's a fascinating space. There's so much to learn and understand about it. It's not just about the, technology behind it, but it's a lot about kind of, the community, right? And how community sentiment kind of drives the entire space. So, within my work here at Bybit, we do produce a lot of educational material, right? Like you mentioned, how to, safeguard your assets when you enter the NFT space. If you want to find out about what NFTs are to begin with, there's an NFT 101. So check out learn.bybit.com. That's where you get to find an array really of information and educational material that we can tap on just to learn a little bit more from the outside looking in. At the same time, if you'd like to experience, right, NFTs if I may say so, like in the physical realm, Bybit will actually be participating in Art Dubai, and we will be the lead partner in this event happening from March 9th to 13th in Dubai. What this is really is our first NFT marketplace showcase. So, serving as a bridge really between the cryptosphere and the art market. Art Dubai's digital section will explore the digital space through the eyes of the art world. Earlier, we talked about ownership, we talked about expression, and I think the NFT space really could provide great potential and a space for expression, right, for artists worldwide. There will be a gallery section showcasing art and innovative formats for participating galleries, and also a series of Bybit talks discussing the technicalities and possibilities within the new media and NFT art stratosphere. So we are, I'm afraid, running almost out of time. So I just wanted to touch on your expertise again, being in the blockchain space, right? I want to talk about the future of blockchain. Final question really from me before we move on to audience questions and answers. Buzzwords aside, we heard blockchain, we heard, fill in the blanks tech, right? So we have fintech, edutech, medtech. There's almost every forms of fill in the blanks tech nowadays. What direction, Hock Lai, do you think blockchain technology and really just financial innovation as a whole is headed towards? And more importantly, what themes would be worth paying attention to this year amidst all these discovery and fluidity in the space?
Okay, I think earlier on I touched on the thing on like CBDC and asset tokenization. I think this is the space that I think will be very interesting to watch out for this year and next year. I do believe that CBDC will start to gain more adoption, and then that will lead to more demand for tokenized assets. That's the first thing. The second thing I think will be in the space of DeFi moving to 2.0, because the current DeFi, one of the major flaws is the way that it attracts liquidity, which is not sustainable. So we have various DeFi 2.0 projects that are coming out. So I'm quite excited over that. But I also think this will be the year whereby we will see regulations coming into the DeFi space. So do expect to see some DeFi regulation to come in this year. The third thing, I think we will see more and more niche and specialized layer 1 and layer 2 chains. For example, Deeper Labs, they have the Flow chain for the NBA Top Shot. Axie Infinity, they also came up with their own side chain, Ronin side chain. So I think this is going to be, no longer it will be dominated by that one or that few layer 1 chain. I think it's going to be a multi-chain world. So we'll see some niche chain coming up. And something that is related to it will be what I call more and more cross-chain interoperability projects, because more and more layer 1, layer 2 chain, right, then we need the technology that can facilitate moving of assets across all these different chains. Yeah, that's my very brief take on the future, what to expect in 2022. Thanks.
Yeah, it's really impossible to really dive deep into detail with such short amount of time. I don't want to hog all of your time, Hock Lai, because I do want to get to some of the questions that the audience have written into, right? Thanks so much for sharing your analysis and really feeding into my curiosity for the past half an hour or so. Let's start with a question on Web 3.0. Do you think it is a boon or bane towards working together in the digital assets space? A question from Nat.
Okay, so the common definition of Web 3.0 is really about the ability to own things. And that's where the strength of blockchain comes in, right? That's why we see that for NFT, right? You can uniquely own a particular digital asset. So I think Web3 is going to be a boon in general for the digital asset space. We already see that because of this, right? We see now there's a lot of innovation in NFT. I shared that just now. I forgot to say that I think 2022 I'm going to see NFT 2.0. NFT that are more dynamic. For example, let's say if you have a digital collectible card for basketball players, the statistics of the player could be dynamically updated based on the player's performance in the coming years, in the future. So I think in general, it's going to be a boom.
Nice. Speaking of NFTs, there's another question from the audience asking for your views on trading NFTs in Singapore. Do you foresee Singapore as an NFT-friendly place?
I think last week or the week before, MES actually gave a response to that, saying to the tune of currently most of the NFT use cases are digital collectibles and art, and these are not regulated, and MES can't regulate possibly everything, right? However, if the NFT have elements of financial product, right, then regulation might come in. So I think that's the response to that.
Staying within the space and discussion of Singapore, there's also another question on whether Singapore will be more open to crypto in the near future.
I think Singapore has, the Singapore government has stated many times that we are supportive of innovations, all kinds of innovation, including those innovations from blockchain. So definitely we are seeing a lot of innovation for crypto. Again, the only thing is that most countries, including Singapore, they don't want too much speculation. So those that are speculative in those crypto innovation that are speculative in nature, and especially when it involves retail investors, especially it can be systemic, right? Those are the things that the government do not support. This is already reflected in the recent ban on the retail crypto advertisement. Thanks.
Sounds good. I have another question here, actually two back to back. So I'm not sure, maybe we want to focus a little bit more on the NFTs side of things, but there's a question from the audience asking about what we think of the Elrond ecosystem, but focusing on the NFTs side of things. We did discuss this earlier, but I guess for the benefit of our friends who've joined a little bit later in the discussion, NFTs really are a very big topic that piques the interest of many people. So Hock Lai, do you think NFTs will ever be used to transact property titles or other real life assets that can be uniquely identified?
I would think that never say never. Yeah, it's a complex question. It depends on quite a lot of things, right? Including like whether the entire property information system is ready to be integrated into the blockchain, right? So, but to me, I mean, it might happen, but I don't know when. But I think it's more likely to happen in one of the smaller countries, whereby it's a lot more manageable. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We do have other questions surrounding CBDCs. Hock Lai, could you elaborate on the differing roles of CBDCs and private stablecoins and how they would coexist?
Yeah, for example, like if you look at most of the private stablecoins, right, most of them are not using it. I'll be very blunt. Most of them are not using it to purchase goods and services. They are using it to trade crypto, right? So I don't expect that many people will use CBDC to trade crypto for obvious reasons. So that's why they could coexist. That's one of the many reasons I can think of. Yeah. Thanks.
I'm personally very intrigued by this question, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. What is the impact of crypto Bitcoin on the environment? And maybe I personally would throw in another aspect of this, right? What do you think is the impact on blockchain, the technology, on the environment?
Yeah, I think the question, the ESG impact of Bitcoin has been argued many times, because on one hand, right, we know that like the energy consumption of Bitcoin is higher than many countries, right? On the other hand, the crypto miners are saying that most of the energy they are using are renewable energy that would have gone to waste anyway if they don't use it, because usually the energy demand are lower at certain period of time. So they are actually helping to use the renewable energy. Who's right, who's wrong? To be frank, at this point, I think it is still too early until we have more definite data on that. Having said that, we are seeing more and more change moving to, for example, like a proof of stake consensus, which is more green, like the likes of Solana, the likes of Polygon. So I think over time, as more and more layer one blockchain move to the more energy friendly consensus algorithm, I think the impact on the environment will lessen. And on the other hand, blockchain technology can be used to facilitate some of the green movement. For example, they can use it to trade carbon credits. They can be used to trade renewable energy certificates. They can be a very good source of database to store metrics of companies say that they are going green, right? So I think blockchain does have its role to play in the ESG world. Thanks.
I think even Steve Wozniak, who's like the co-founder of Apple, he as well launched an energy efficient company called eForce, which really combines the best of blockchain and environmental support. So I think this is definitely a space that has much potential, and definitely a space that I'm personally looking into and keeping my eyes on as well. Going back really into collaboration and extending to co-creation, there is another question from our audience asking about the opportunities to collaborate, shake hands, co-create within the fintech and crypto space. Now, just an additional point, prior to being, I guess, within the space, I think there's a lot of general sweeping of, fintech, tech, innovation, and crypto, it being lumped in together. But I think there are the various nuances that kind of defines each of these words and space. So, back to the question, Hock Lai, from our audience, what do you think and where do you think are the opportunities to collaborate between fintech and
Okay.
crypto?
So due to the interest of time, this is probably the last question I will address. Okay, I've been quite active in both fintech and blockchain space. I'm actually, I shared before, I'm the founding president for the Singapore Fintech Association. So before I stepped down last year, we have more than 900 corporate members and international collaborations in 40 countries. I'm seeing the same growth trajectory for blockchain. In fact, I think blockchain is like fintech 3 years ago. So in fact, I would say that the blockchain is growing much more rapidly now. Some people even say that blockchain is the next fintech. Having said that, I start having some of my fintech friends approaching me. How can their fintech company either pivot into blockchain or at least have some products related to crypto, right? So I think there is some kind of convergence. On the other hand, there are many people in the fintech space, they are quite anti-crypto also. So I'll be very frank. Yeah, they don't believe that is a legitimate product. So I think this is where I think industry associations can play a very important role by bringing in different stakeholders, whether is it the regulators, different parts of the industry, including the bank, or even the consultancies, all into one platform and facilitate collaboration among them. So I think this is where industry association can play that kind of role to facilitate collaboration. Thanks.
Guys, really, where did the time go? Hock Lai, like you mentioned, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today's session. It's been an amazing 1 hour. There are still questions from the audience that we weren't able to address, but guys, for anyone and every one of you who's watching this and really have burning questions for various leaders within this space, right? This is a monthly show, and we do come back every month with various leaders within the space. Next month it is next month I can't remember what date, but we are celebrating Women's Day next month, and we will have a very special guest joining me on Ahead of the Curve. So tune in again. We will be sending out reminders and dates and details for that coming up. So this is Ahead of the Curve. I'm Francesca. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much, Hock Lai, for just being an amazing guest in the past hour. We can't wait to have everyone again, and as well as you, Hock Lai, on the show. Goodbye, guys. Bye. Be kind to one another and take care, okay?